I am Allison, 35 years old, and I never expected my sister-in-law Vanessa to stoop so low. Just hours before my daughter Heather was set to perform at the regional dance competition, I returned to the dressing room to find her beautiful costume torn to shreds. Vanessa stood there with scissors in hand, sneering, "Now my girls will win, for sure." I felt my blood boil until Heather calmly whispered, "Mom, relax," with a smile that confused me. What she showed me next left me speechless. Before we get into this wild story, let me know where you are watching from in the comments. Hit that like button and subscribe to see more family drama unfold. To understand why this competition meant everything to us, I need to take you back to the beginning. Dance was always my passion. From the age of 6, I lived and breathed ballet, jazz, and contemporary dance. My childhood bedroom walls were plastered with posters of famous dancers, and I spent every spare moment practicing in front of my mirror. By 17, I was on track for a scholarship to Juilliard when disaster struck. During a pivotal performance, I landed wrong from a grand jeté, tearing ligaments in my knee. 3 surgeries later, doctors told me my professional dance career was over before it had even begun. The pain of losing that dream was something I carried with me for years. I channeled my passion into teaching at a local studio while pursuing a degree in physical therapy. That is where I met Eric, a kind and supportive physical therapist who helped with my rehabilitation. We fell in love, got married, and when our daughter Heather was born, I saw a second chance at the dream I had lost. Heather showed natural talent from the moment she could walk. By age 4, she was begging for dance lessons. I was careful not to push her, but it was clear that she had inherited my passion along with a natural grace that made my heart swell with pride. By the time she was 10, her teachers were suggesting advanced classes and private coaching. Now at 15, she was competing at the regional level with real potential for national recognition. The complicated part of our story involves my sister-in-law, Vanessa. Eric and Vanessa grew up in a household where achievement was everything. Their father was a college football coach who treated every family activity like a competition. While Eric channeled that upbringing into healthy ambition, Vanessa developed an unhealthy obsession with winning at all costs. When Vanessa gave birth to twin daughters Tiffany and Brooke, just a year after Heather was born, the competition between us began almost immediately. Whose baby walked first, talked first, read first. Every milestone became a battleground. I tried to stay above it, but Vanessa made it impossible to ignore. "My girls are naturally gifted," she would say at family gatherings. "They do not need to practice as much as Heather does." The first real incident happened when the girls were 10. Both Heather and the twins were performing in the same recital. Somehow Heather's music file got corrupted right before her performance. I later discovered Vanessa near the sound booth just minutes earlier. There was no proof, but the timing was suspicious. When the girls were 12, Vanessa accidentally spilled coffee on Heather's costume bag at a local competition. Luckily, I had packed a backup outfit. After that, I began preparing for Vanessa's sabotage attempts, always bringing extras of everything. This particular competition was different. The Midwest Youth Dance Championship offered a full scholarship to a prestigious summer intensive program with the American Ballet Theatre in New York. This was not just another trophy. It was Heather's chance to be seen by people who could shape her future in dance. We had spent months preparing, working with choreographers, and selecting music that would showcase her technical skills and emotional depth. The dress was special too. We had saved for months to afford the custom-made costume, a stunning royal blue creation with crystal embellishments that caught the light perfectly as Heather moved. The designer had worked with professional companies and created something that made Heather look like she belonged on a professional stage. The dress cost nearly $2,000, a huge investment for our family. The night before the competition, we checked into the hotel where the event was being held. The grand ballroom of the Riverside Hotel had been transformed into a performance venue with professional lighting and a sprung floor installed specifically for the dancers. Walking through the lobby, I felt my stomach clench when I spotted Vanessa and the twins checking in at the same time. "What a coincidence," Vanessa said, with a smile that did not reach her eyes. "We are on the same floor, too. How convenient." Eric, who had taken the day off to drive us to the competition, sensed the tension and quickly ushered us toward the elevators. "Let us just focus on tomorrow," he whispered to me. "Do not engage." That night, Heather could hardly sleep from excitement. Her best friend and dance partner Jasmine had arrived separately with her family and came to our room to practice one last time. The girls had been inseparable since kindergarten, and although they sometimes competed against each other, their friendship never suffered. Jasmine was performing a different category, so they would not be direct competitors this time. "You are going to be amazing tomorrow," Jasmine told Heather, as they went through a final run of choreography in the limited space of our hotel room. "Those judges will not know what hit them." I watched them with a mixture of pride and nervousness. The stakes felt so high, and I could not shake the feeling that Vanessa was planning something. I just did not know what. The morning of the competition dawned bright and clear. Heather was up at 5 a.m., too excited to sleep. I found her already stretching in the corner of our hotel room, her face a mask of concentration. "Today is the day, Mom," she said, her eyes bright with determination. "I can feel it." We ordered room service breakfast, knowing Heather needed proper fuel for the long day ahead. The competition would start at 10 a.m., with her category scheduled for 2 p.m. We had planned everything down to the minute, allowing time for hair, makeup, warm-up, and mental preparation. As we were finishing breakfast, there was a knock at our door. Eric opened it to find his sister and nieces standing there, all bright smiles and false cheer. "We thought we would wish Heather good luck," Vanessa said, stepping into our room without waiting for an invitation. The twins followed, already dressed in their warm-up clothes, their hair pulled back in identical tight buns. "The competition is going to be fierce this year." Vanessa continued scanning our room and noticing the garment bag that held Heather's costume hanging in the closet. "I heard that Mackenzie Davis is competing, and she trained with the San Francisco Ballet last summer." I knew what she was doing, trying to psych Heather out with talk of tough competition. I caught my daughter's eye and gave her a subtle shake of my head. "Do not engage." "We are feeling pretty confident," I said simply. "Heather has put in the work." "Well, confidence is important," Vanessa replied with a slight smirk, "even when it is misplaced. Girls, we should get going. Our private warm-up room is reserved for 8:30. After they left, Eric sighed deeply. "I am sorry about my sister. I wish she could just let the girls enjoy their passion without making it so cutthroat." "It is not your fault," I assured him, though part of me wished he would stand up to Vanessa more firmly. We are used to her games by now. At 9:30, we headed down to the ballroom level, where dancers were already gathering, stretching in hallways, and going through routines. The energy was electric, a mixture of excitement and nerves. Heather's teacher, Miss Diana, was waiting for us near the warm-up area. Miss Diana had been a professional dancer with the Boston Ballet for 15 years before retiring to teach. She had taken a special interest in Heather, seeing the same potential that I did. Under her guidance, Heather had blossomed from a talented child into a young artist with presence and emotional depth. "There is my star," Miss Diana said, giving Heather a warm hug. "How are you feeling today?" "Ready," Heather replied, with confidence that made my heart swell. They disappeared into the warm-up room while I checked in at the registration desk and collected Heather's competitor number. As I was finishing the paperwork, Eric's phone rang. It was his hospital. As an emergency room physical therapist, he sometimes got called in for serious trauma cases. "I have to go," he said apologetically after a brief conversation. "Multi-car pileup on the interstate. They need all hands on deck." But the competition, I protested, feeling a flutter of panic at the thought of facing Vanessa alone. "I know, and I am so sorry. I will try to make it back for Heather's performance." He kissed me quickly, texted me updates. Just like that, I was on my own. I took a deep breath and reminded myself that this day was about Heather, not about my issues with Vanessa. After warm-up, Heather needed several items we had forgotten in the rush that morning. Bobby pins for her hair, extra clear nail polish to stop, runs in her tights, and double-sided tape to secure her costume. I hesitated to leave her, but Miss Diana assured me she would stay with Heather until I returned. "Take your time," she said. "We still have plenty of time before her category." I hurried back to our hotel room, collected the needed supplies, and was heading back to the dressing area when I ran into Vanessa in the hallway. She was coming from the direction of the dressing rooms, and something about her satisfied expression made my stomach drop. "Oh, Allison," she said with exaggerated surprise. "Looking for something?" Before I could respond, she brushed past me, her perfume lingering in the air along with my growing sense of dread. I practically ran the rest of the way to the dressing room. When I pushed open the door, I found Heather sitting alone, tears streaming down her face. In her hands was what remained of her beautiful blue costume, the delicate fabric torn at the seams, crystal beadings scattered across the floor. "What happened?" I gasped, though I already knew. "Aunt Vanessa happened," Heather said, her voice shaking. "She came in saying she wanted to wish me good luck again. I went to the bathroom for literally 2 minutes, and when I came back she was gone, and my dress looked like this." At that moment, the door opened again, and Vanessa reappeared this time with the twins and Miss Diana. "Oh my goodness," Vanessa exclaimed, with obviously fake concern. "What happened to your beautiful dress, Heather?" "Like you do not know," I spat out, fury rising in my chest. "Are you accusing me of something?" Vanessa's eyes narrowed dangerously. "I saw you coming from this direction, looking very pleased with yourself," I said, stepping closer to her. "And suddenly, Heather's dress is destroyed. What a coincidence." Vanessa's mask of concern slipped for just a moment, revealing the smug satisfaction underneath. "These things happen at competitions. Costumes tear, items get lost. Now my girls will win for sure," she added in a whisper only I could hear. I felt rage building inside me, my hands shaking with the effort not to physically lash out at her. This was not just a dress. This was Heather's future. Her chance at a scholarship, months of hard work destroyed by jealousy and pettiness. Mom Heather called from behind me, her voice surprisingly steady. "Can you come here for a second?" I turned to find my daughter no longer crying. Instead, a strange calm had come over her face, almost like she was trying not to smile. "Mom, relax," she whispered, pulling me close. "I need to show you something." "Follow me," Heather said quietly, taking my hand and leading me away from Vanessa's triumphant smirk. We walked into a small alcove near the dressing room where we could speak privately. "Remember last year, at the Valentine showcase, Heather asked, her eyes now twinkling with something that looked suspiciously like amusement. How could I forget? It was the first time Heather had been selected for a solo in a major showcase. The night before the performance, we discovered her costume had mysteriously disappeared from the dressing room. We never found it, and Heather had to perform in a hastily altered dress borrowed from another dancer. Despite the setback, she had danced beautifully, but I knew she had been devastated. After that happened, Heather continued. Miss Diana pulled me aside and said something I will never forget. She said, "In ballet, as in life, you must always be prepared for the unexpected. The mark of a true professional is having a contingency plan." Heather reached for her phone and quickly typed a message. Less than a minute later, Jasmine appeared in the alcove carrying a garment bag. "Is it time?" Jasmine asked, looking excited. Heather nodded, then turned to me with a grin. "Mom, the dress Aunt Vanessa just destroyed was a decoy." "A what?" I asked, not comprehending. "A decoy," Heather repeated. "Miss Diana and I suspected Aunt Vanessa might try something like this again. So we came up with a plan. Remember that old blue dress from last season that we were going to donate? We took it to the same designer and had him add similar crystal details to make it look like my real competition dress. It cost us an extra $100, but Miss Diana said it would be worth it as insurance." Jasmine unzipped the garment bag to reveal an identical royal blue costume, pristine and ready for the stage. "The real dress has been with Jasmine's mom since yesterday," Heather explained. "We figured it was the last place Aunt Vanessa would look." I stared at my daughter in amazement. The child I had been so worried about protecting had outsmarted us all. She had anticipated Vanessa's sabotage and prepared for it with a maturity far beyond her 15 years. "But why did you cry when I came in?" I asked, still trying to process this turn of events. Heather exchanged a guilty look with Jasmine. "Well, I had to make it convincing, did I not? If I did not seem upset, Aunt Vanessa might have suspected something was up." A laugh bubbled up from deep in my chest, a release of tension and fear, and then pure, unadulterated pride. My daughter, my beautiful, brilliant daughter, had refused to be a victim. Instead of getting angry or giving up, she had strategized and problem-solved. "Miss Diana helped us come up with the whole plan," Jasmine added. "She said dancers have to be resourceful because the show must always go on." Speaking of Miss Diana, she appeared at that moment looking concerned until she saw us huddled together with the real costume. "I see Operation Decoy Dress is in full effect," she said, with a satisfied smile. "Heather, I am so proud of your foresight. This is exactly the kind of thinking that separates good dancers from great ones." I hugged my daughter tightly, marveling at her composure. "When did you get so grown up and strategic?" I asked, feeling a mixture of pride and a touch of sadness that she had needed to develop such defenses. "From watching you, Mom," Heather replied simply. "You always taught me to stand up for myself, but to be smart about it. Getting angry and yelling at Aunt Vanessa would not fix anything. This way we win without stooping to her level." Miss Diana checked her watch. "We still have 90 minutes before your category, plenty of time to get ready." She turned to me with a mischievous glint in her eye. "Would you like to play along a little longer? Let Vanessa think she has won?" I considered this for a moment. Part of me wanted to march right back to the dressing room and reveal Heather's clever plan to Vanessa's face. But another part, the part that had endured years of her petty competitiveness and underhanded tactics, liked the idea of letting her believe she had succeeded. "What do you think, Heather?" I asked, deferring to my daughter. "It is your competition." "I think," Heather said slowly, "that the best revenge is success. Let her think she has won until the moment I walk on stage." In that moment, I saw my daughter not just as my child, but as a young woman of principle and intelligence. She was not interested in humiliating Vanessa or creating more drama. She simply wanted to dance her best and let her performance speak for itself. "That is my girl," I said, giving her another hug. "Now let us get you ready to win this thing." We returned to the dressing room to find Vanessa still there, supposedly consoling the twins, but really watching the door for our return. Her eyes lit up with malicious glee when she saw my reddened eyes, evidence of the emotional roller coaster I had just experienced. "Oh, Allison," she said with exaggerated sympathy, "these things happen at competitions. Perhaps it is a sign that Heather should wait until next year when she is more prepared." I bit my tongue, reminding myself of our plan. "We will figure something out," I said vaguely. "If there is anything we can do to help," Vanessa offered, not meaning a word of it. "The girls have extra costumes, though they might be a bit small for Heather." The subtle dig at my daughter's size did not go unnoticed. Heather had recently gone through a growth spurt, shooting up to 5'7", while the twins remained petite, like their mother. It was just one more thing Vanessa had tried to use as ammunition in the past. "Thank you, but we will manage," I said stiffly, playing along with our charade. As Vanessa left with her daughters, she made sure to speak loudly enough for the other dancers and parents in the vicinity to hear. Such a shame about Heather's costume mishap. Some girls just are not meant for the pressure of competition. Once she was gone, Miss Diana sprang into action. "Jasmine, take Heather and the real costume to the auxiliary dressing room on the second floor. No one will look for you there. Allison, stay here and pretend to be frantically trying to repair the torn dress. Make it convincing." I nodded, picking up the ruined decoy dress and spreading it out on a table. I pulled out a small sewing kit from my emergency bag and began making a show of trying to stitch it back together, knowing full well the damage was beyond repair. Other dance moms soon gathered around, offering sympathy and assistance. I was touched by their genuine concern, especially when several offered pieces of their own daughters' costumes to help create something wearable. "Vanessa has always been ruthlessly competitive," whispered one mom, Barbara, whose daughter had competed alongside Heather for years. "Last season, she spread a rumor that my Katie had been disqualified for breaking rules just so parents would not vote for her in the Audience Choice Award. She once told the judges, my Zoe had been taking professional coaching, which is against amateur rules," added another mom. "We had to provide proof that her teacher was registered with the association." It seemed Vanessa had made enemies throughout the dance community with her tactics. I was not the only one who would enjoy seeing her plans backfire. For the next hour, I kept up the pretense, periodically dabbing at my eyes and looking distressed whenever Vanessa or anyone who might report back to her walked past. I even called Eric careful to speak loudly enough to be overheard. "I do not know what we are going to do," I lamented into the phone. "The dress is ruined. Heather is devastated." Eric, still caught up at the hospital, was confused. "What happened? Is Heather okay?" "I will explain everything later," I said. "Just try to get here if you can. Heather needs all the support she can get right now." Meanwhile, on the second floor, Heather was being transformed. Jasmine's mother, Sophia, was a professional hairstylist who had volunteered to do the girls' competition hair. She worked quickly, creating an elegant French twist, adorned with crystal pins that matched the dress perfectly. Jasmine handled Heather's makeup, applying it with the skill of someone who had been watching YouTube tutorials for years. A hint of blue eyeshadow to match the costume, false eyelashes to make her expressions visible from the back of the ballroom, and a touch of highlighter to catch the stage lights. Through text updates, I kept track of their progress while maintaining my act of despair in the main dressing area. As the time for Heather's category approached, I slipped away, telling the sympathetic dance moms that I needed a moment alone. Upstairs, I found a transformed Heather. In her real competition dress with her hair and makeup complete, she looked like a professional dancer, ready to take the stage of any major company. More importantly, She looked calm and focused, completely in the zone that athletes and performers call flow state. "You look absolutely beautiful," I told her, feeling tears spring to my eyes, real ones this time. "Do not cry," Mom Heather warned with a smile. "You will make me cry, and Jasmine spent forever on this makeup." Miss Diana appeared at the door. "They are calling for your category to line up backstage. Are you ready?" Heather took a deep breath and nodded. More ready than I have ever been. We made our way downstairs via a back staircase, careful to avoid the main areas where Vanessa might spot us. The backstage area was bustling with activity dancers, making last-minute adjustments to costumes and running through steps, parents being shooed away by competition officials. "This is where I leave you," I told Heather, giving her a quick hug, careful not to wrinkle her costume. "You have got this. Just dance like you do in practice when you think no one is watching." It was our traditional pre-performance pep talk, the same words I had been saying to her since her first recital at age 4. Heather smiled, recognizing the familiar ritual. "Thanks, Mom. For everything." As Heather took her place in line with the other competitors, I slipped into the audience. The grand ballroom was now filled to capacity with parents, teachers, and dance enthusiasts crowding the seats. I spotted Vanessa in the third row center prime viewing position. The twins sat beside her looking nervous, but excited as their category would follow Heather's. I took a seat at the far side of the room, not wanting to be near Vanessa when she realized her sabotage had failed. As I settled in, my phone buzzed with a text from Eric. "Just parked. Coming in now." Did I miss Heather? "Not yet," I texted back. "Hurry!" Moments later, Eric slid into the seat beside me, looking harried and confused. "What is going on? Your messages have been cryptic all day." "I will explain everything, I promised. But right now, just watch. You are not going to believe what your sister did or how Heather handled it." The lights dimmed, and the MC announced the beginning of the Advanced Teen Solo Contemporary category. There were 12 competitors in total, with Heather scheduled to perform 9th. I sat through the first 8 performances in a state of nervous anticipation, barely registering the other dancers. And then the announcer called Heather's name. Next up, competitor number 37, Heather Wilson, performing Rise Above, choreographed by Diana Sullivan. A hush fell over the audience as the stage remained empty for a moment. From my peripheral vision, I could see Vanessa leaning forward with a satisfied smirk, obviously expecting Heather to be a no-show or to appear in some hastily assembled replacement costume. And then my daughter stepped onto the stage. Even from a distance, I could see Vanessa's jaw drop as Heather glided to center stage in her pristine royal blue costume. Every crystal catching the light, her posture perfect, her presence commanding. Eric squeezed my hand, still not understanding what was happening, but clearly proud of how poised our daughter looked. The music began, a haunting piano piece that started softly and built to a powerful crescendo. Heather had chosen this music carefully, with Miss Diana selecting something that would showcase both her technical skills and her emotional range. From the first movement, it was clear Heather was dancing at a level beyond anything she had achieved in practice. There was a fluidity to her motion, a connection between music and movement that cannot be taught. Her leaps soared, her turns were precise, and most importantly, she told a story with her body that had the audience completely captivated. I found myself holding my breath during particularly challenging sequences, reflexively counting through the beats of difficult combinations, as I had done hundreds of times while watching her practice. But Heather needed no help from me today. She was in complete control, lost in the music and the moment. During a series of fouettes, a notoriously difficult turning sequence that had given Heather trouble in practice. I glanced over at Vanessa. Her face had transformed from shock to anger to a kind of grudging admiration. The twins were watching with wide eyes, their expressions a mixture of jealousy and awe. As Heather moved into the final sequence of her routine, the music swelled to its emotional peak. She executed a perfect grand jeté, the very move that had ended my own dance career, and landed with such control and grace that I felt tears spring to my eyes. This was not just a dance competition performance. This was artistry. The final pose held for 3 beats as the music faded, and then the ballroom erupted in applause. People were standing, something that rarely happened at these regional competitions. Even some of the judges were nodding appreciatively, though they maintained their professional composure. Heather took her bow, a radiant smile lighting up her face. As she exited the stage, I turned to Eric. "I need to go backstage," I told him. "You stay here and save our seats. The twins perform soon, and then they will announce the finalists." Eric, still looking bewildered, nodded. She was incredible. But what was that all about? Why did Vanessa look so shocked? "I will fill you in later," I promised already, making my way toward the backstage area. Behind the stage, I found Heather surrounded by other competitors, offering congratulations. Miss Diana stood nearby, looking like a proud mother hen. When Heather spotted me, she broke away from the group and rushed into my arms. "I did it, Mom. I did not miss a single step." "You were beyond words," I told her, hugging her tightly. "I have never seen you dance like that before." "It felt different," she admitted. "Usually I am so nervous thinking about the steps and counting in my head. But today, I just kept thinking about how Aunt Vanessa tried to stop me from dancing, and somehow that made everything else disappear. I just felt the music." Miss Diana joined us, her eyes shining. "That, my dear, is what happens when you dance from a place of emotional truth. Technical perfection is important, but what moves an audience is authenticity. You found yours today." Over Heather's shoulder, I spotted Vanessa approaching, her face set in a tight mask of control. The twins trailed behind her, already in their costumes for their upcoming performance. "Well," Vanessa said coolly as she reached us, "that was quite a surprise." "Was it?" I replied, unable to keep a hint of satisfaction from my voice. Vanessa's eyes narrowed as she looked at Heather's costume, identical to the one she had destroyed hours earlier. "I do not understand. How did you—" "How did I—" what Aunt Vanessa Heather asked innocently. For a moment, I thought Vanessa might actually admit what she had done. A flicker of shame crossed her face as she looked at her niece standing tall and confident after delivering the performance of her young life. "But old habits die hard. How did you manage to repair your costume so perfectly?" she asked instead, sticking to her pretense of innocence. "Oh, we did not repair it," Heather said with a sweet smile. "That dress was beyond saving. This is my real competition costume." "You're real," Vanessa trailed off, comprehension dawning. "The one you destroyed was a decoy," I explained quietly, keeping my voice low so that only our small group could hear. "Heather and Miss Diana suspected you might try something, so they prepared a backup plan." Vanessa's face flushed red. She opened her mouth to respond, but was interrupted by the competition announcer calling for the next category, which included the twins. "Girls, we need to go," she said stiffly. "Good luck with the results, Heather." As they walked away, Tiffany looked back over her shoulder at Heather, an unreadable expression on her face. There had been a time when the girls were very young, when they had all been friends before Vanessa's competitive nature had poisoned their relationship. "I hope they dance well," Heather said, surprising me with her generosity. "Even after what their mother did." Heather shrugged. It is not their fault their mom is so intense. Besides, I already won today, no matter what the judges decide. I looked at my daughter with newfound respect. In many ways, she was more mature than Vanessa and I combined. We returned to our seats in time to watch the twins perform. They were undeniably talented with perfect synchronization and technical precision. But after watching Heather dance with such emotional depth, their performance felt somewhat mechanical in comparison. Eric leaned over to whisper, "Are you going to tell me what happened with Vanessa and why there were two identical blue dresses?" I gave him the condensed version, watching his expression change from confusion to anger to pride as he realized how Heather had outsmarted his sister. "That is my girl," he said, beaming at Heather, who sat between us. "Smart and talented." After all competitors had performed, there was a brief intermission while the judges deliberated. The atmosphere in the ballroom was electric with anticipation. Dancers and parents speculated about who would make the finals and ultimately win the coveted scholarship. When the judges returned, the head judge took the microphone. "We have seen some exceptional talent today," she began. "Before we announce our finalists, I want to commend all of our dancers for their hard work and dedication." She proceeded to call out the numbers of the 6 finalists who would perform again tomorrow for the final selection. Competitor number 16, competitor number 23, competitor number 37. Heather squeezed my hand so hard I thought she might break my fingers. She was in the finals. The judge continued. Competitor number 42, competitor number 51, and competitor number 63. Both twins had made the finals as well. Despite everything, I felt a twinge of happiness for them. They had worked hard too, regardless of their mother's tactics. As we stood to leave, planning to celebrate Heather's success with dinner, I caught sight of Vanessa across the room. For once, she was not looking at us with smugness or hostility. Instead, she seemed deflated, as if the day's events had forced her to confront something uncomfortable about herself. Tomorrow would bring the final round of competition, but for tonight, we had already achieved a victory more important than any trophy or scholarship. Heather had stood tall in the face of sabotage, refused to let bitterness affect her performance, and danced with a joy and authenticity that no amount of scheming could diminish. The next morning brought a sense of calm determination. Heather had slept well, confident in her performance and ready for the finals. We were enjoying a leisurely breakfast in the hotel restaurant when Eric suddenly stiffened, his gaze fixed on the entrance. "Heads up," he muttered. "Vanessa incoming." Sure enough, my sister-in-law was making her way toward our table without the twins this time. Her expression was unreadable, but there was something different about her demeanor, less aggressive than usual. "May I join you?" she asked, her voice lacking its typical sharp edge. Eric and I exchanged glances, and he nodded slightly. "Have a seat," he told his sister. An uncomfortable silence settled over the table as Vanessa sat down. She fidgeted with her napkin, seemingly unsure how to begin. "The girls are still sleeping," she finally said. "They were exhausted after yesterday." "Heather too," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. "Making the finals is exciting, but draining." Another silence fell, broken only by the clinking of cutlery against plates from nearby tables. Eventually, Vanessa took a deep breath. "I need to talk to you about what happened yesterday," she said, her eyes fixed on the tablecloth with the dress. Heather, who had been quietly eating her pancakes, looked up with interest. "Which dress, Aunt Vanessa? The real one or the decoy?" Vanessa flinched at the direct question. She began, then faltered. "I did something unforgivable." "Yes, you did," Eric said firmly, "and it is time you owned up to it. Not just yesterday, but all the other incidents over the years. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears, something I had rarely seen in all the years I had known her. I do not know what is wrong with me, she whispered. When I see Heather succeeding, something inside me just snaps. It is like I am back in our childhood home fighting for Dad's approval all over again. Eric's expression softened slightly at the mention of their father, a man who had pit his children against each other in the name of building character. That does not excuse what you did, he said, though his tone was gentler. Heather is your niece Vanessa. She is family. I know, Vanessa admitted, a tear sliding down her cheek. I told myself I was just helping my girls get ahead in a competitive world. But destroying a child's costume, that is not helping anyone. That is just mean. It is bullying, Heather said quietly, but firmly. And it has to stop, not just for me, but for Tiffany and Brooke too. Vanessa looked up surprised. What do you mean? They are learning from you, Heather explained. Every time you do something like this, you are teaching them that winning matters more than integrity. Do you really want them to believe that? From the mouth of babes, I thought, watching Vanessa absorb my daughter's words. Sometimes the simplest truths are the most powerful. You are right, Vanessa acknowledged after a moment. The girls were horrified when they found out what I did. Tiffany threatened to withdraw from the competition. She said she did not want to win that way. This surprised me. The twins had always seemed to follow their mother's lead without question. Perhaps they had more of their father's moral compass than I had given them credit for. So what now? I asked. Where do we go from here? Before Vanessa could answer, a commotion near the restaurant entrance caught our attention. Miss Diana was approaching our table, accompanied by a woman in a blazer, who I recognized as one of the competition officials. Good morning, Miss Diana, said her expression, serious. Mrs. Wilson, Miss Thompson, the competition board would like to speak with both of you. There has been a complaint filed regarding yesterday's incident with Heather's costume. The official stepped forward. We take allegations of sabotage very seriously at our events. Unsportsmanlike conduct can result in immediate disqualification. Vanessa paled. Who filed a complaint? One of the other parents witnessed you entering the dressing room and later saw the damaged costume, the official explained. They reported what they saw. If the twins get disqualified because of me, Vanessa trailed off, looking genuinely distressed. That would not be fair, Heather interjected, surprising everyone. Tiffany and Brooke worked hard for their spot in the finals. They should not be punished for something they did not do. The competition official looked at Heather with respect. That is very mature of you. However, our rules are clear about family conduct. Please, Heather persisted. I am not pressing charges or making a formal complaint. My costume was not actually damaged, as you can see. I will be performing in the finals today with my real dress. Miss Diana nodded in agreement. Heather and I anticipated potential issues and took precautions. No harm was done to her actual competition costume. The official looked uncertain. Nevertheless, the reported behavior violates our code of conduct. What if Eric suggested, instead of disqualification, my sister agrees to step down from the Dance Parents Committee and attend the association's sportsmanship workshop? The focus should be on learning and growth, not punishment that affects innocent children. After some discussion, the official agreed to take this proposal to the board. She and Miss Diana departed, leaving our family alone again. Why would you do that for me, Vanessa? Asked Heather, genuine confusion in her voice. After everything I have done. I did not do it for you, Heather replied, honestly. I did it for Tiffany and Brooke, and because winning against them when they are actually competing is much more satisfying than winning because they got disqualified. Eric laughed, breaking the tension. That is my competitive girl. Speaking of the twins, I said, where are they now? As if on cue, Tiffany and Brooke appeared at the restaurant entrance, scanning the room until they spotted their mother. They hurried over their expressions, anxious. Mom, everyone is talking about what happened yesterday, Tiffany said, without preamble. Shannon's mom told us you might get us disqualified. It is being handled, Vanessa assured them, then hesitated before adding, I owe you both an apology. What I did was wrong, and it could have cost you your place in the finals, if not for Heather standing up for you. The twins looked at their cousin with surprise. You did that for us? Brooke asked. Heather shrugged. Family is complicated, but we are still family. There was an awkward moment, years of tension and rivalry hanging in the air between the three girls. Then, Tiffany took a step forward and did something completely unexpected. She hugged Heather. Thank you, she said quietly. And good luck today. You were amazing yesterday. You too, Heather replied, returning the hug. Both of you. As we finished breakfast and prepared to go our separate ways to get ready for the finals, Eric pulled his sister aside for a private conversation. I could not hear what was said, but Vanessa's face showed a mixture of shame and resolution as they spoke. Whatever Eric told her, it seemed to make an impact. Later, as Heather and I were preparing in our hotel room, she asked, Do you think Aunt Vanessa will really change? I considered the question carefully. I think today was a wake-up call for her. Whether it leads to lasting change depends on her willingness to examine why she feels so threatened by your success. It is sad, really, Heather mused as I helped pin her hair. She could have been helping all three of us get better instead of trying to tear me down. That is very insightful, I told her once again, impressed by my daughter's emotional intelligence. Sometimes people are so focused on competition that they forget about cooperation. By the time we headed down for the finals, a new atmosphere had settled over our family. The rivalry was still there, the desire to win, still strong, but the toxic edge had been blunted. For the first time in years, it felt like we might eventually find our way to a healthier relationship. The finals were a showcase of exceptional talent. All 6 finalists performed beautifully, making the judges' job extremely difficult. Heather danced even better than the day before, if that was possible, while the twins executed their routine with more emotional connection than I had ever seen from them. When the time came for the results, all the finalists stood on stage, holding hands in a show of solidarity that brought tears to my eyes. Whatever the outcome, this moment of genuine support between young dancers was a victory in itself. And the winner of this year's Midwest Youth Dance Championship and recipient of the full scholarship to American Ballet Theater's Summer Intensive program is competitor number 37, Heather Wilson. The ballroom erupted in applause as Heather stepped forward, her face a mixture of shock and joy. The head judge placed a crystal trophy in her hands and draped a satin sash across her shoulder. Photographers rushed forward to capture the moment as confetti fluttered down from the ceiling. I found myself crying openly, all the emotion of the past 2 days overwhelming me. Eric wrapped his arm around my shoulders, his own eyes suspiciously bright. She did it, he whispered. She really did it. The twins placed 4th overall, a respectable showing that qualified them for nationals. As the ceremony concluded and dancers began filing off stage, I watched Vanessa approach her niece. There was a moment of tension as they stood face to face. Then Vanessa did something that shocked everyone who knew their history. She hugged Heather and offered what appeared to be sincere congratulations. The drive home that evening was filled with excited chatter as Heather processed her victory and the implications for her future. The scholarship would give her access to training from world-class instructors and exposure to professional company directors, potentially opening doors that had previously seemed out of reach. "I still cannot believe I won," she said, for perhaps the 10th time, cradling her trophy in her lap. "When they called my number, I thought I was hearing things." "Believe it," Eric told her, glancing at her in the rearview mirror. "You earned every bit of that success with your hard work and, frankly, your character. Standing up for your cousins after what happened took real integrity." "Speaking of which," I said, turning in my seat to face, "Heather, I want you to know how proud I am of how you handled everything. Not just the dancing, but the whole situation with Aunt Vanessa." "I learned it from you, Mom," she replied. "You always told me that how we respond to difficulties shows who we really are." Her words touched me deeply. As parents, we often wonder if the lessons we try to impart actually sink in. Here was proof that Heather had been listening all along. "I had a long talk with Vanessa before we left," Eric said, keeping his eyes on the road. "She has agreed to start seeing a therapist to work through some of her competitiveness issues. Apparently, the twins have been asking her to get help for a while now." "That is a positive step," I acknowledged, feeling cautiously optimistic. Family healing takes time, but recognizing there is a problem is the first step. "Do you think we will ever be a normal family?" Heather asked. "You know, the kind that can have holiday dinners without someone trying to sabotage someone else's career." Eric and I both laughed at her blunt assessment of our family dynamics. "Define normal," Eric replied. "Every family has their issues. But yes, I think we can work toward a healthier relationship. Your aunt's actions yesterday forced her to confront some uncomfortable truths about herself. And speaking of uncomfortable truths, I added this experience taught me something too. I have been so focused on protecting you from Vanessa that I did not notice how capable you had become of protecting yourself. You are growing up, and I need to give you space to handle challenges your own way." "I still need you, Mom," Heather assured me. "Just maybe not as a bodyguard anymore, more like a consultant." The weeks following the competition brought gradual but noticeable changes to our extended family. Vanessa, true to her word, began therapy sessions. The twins started coming over to our house occasionally to practice with Heather their shared passion for dance, providing common ground for rebuilding their relationship. Planning for the national competition became a family affair, with even Vanessa offering constructive suggestions rather than underhanded criticism. She still had moments of excessive competitiveness, but she was learning to recognize them and step back when needed. As for Heather, the victory gave her a new confidence that extended beyond dance. She approached challenges with the same strategic thinking she had applied to the costume situation, always considering multiple options and preparing for various outcomes. The summer intensive program proved to be transformative. Living in New York for 6 weeks, training alongside other talented young dancers from across the country, Heather returned home with expanded horizons and even greater determination to pursue dance professionally. On the day she left for the program, Vanessa surprised us by showing up at the airport with a gift, a beautiful leather dance journal embossed with Heather's name. "For recording your journey," she said somewhat awkwardly. "I wish I had documented my own dance years better." It was a small gesture, but a meaningful one, an acknowledgement of Heather's path and an extension of support rather than obstruction. The national competition arrived in the fall, a grander affair than the regionals with higher stakes and fiercer competition. This time our entire family attended, presenting a united front that drew curious glances from those who knew our history. Heather did not win the nationals, placing in the top 10, but not claiming the top prize. The twins did not even make the finals. In the past, such results might have triggered resentment and blame. Instead, we all went out for pizza, afterward analyzing performances and discussing areas for improvement with the objectivity of colleagues rather than the bitterness of rivals. You know what I realized, Heather said, as we were driving home from that competition. Winning is amazing, but it is not everything. What I love most is the feeling when I am dancing, when everything disappears except the music and the movement. That is what I am really chasing, not trophies. Her insight struck me deeply. How many of us lose sight of the joy in pursuit of the accolades? How often do we forget why we started something in the first place? The torn dress incident, as we came to call it, became a reference point in our family, a before and after moment that marked the beginning of healing. Vanessa still struggled with her competitive nature, but she was learning healthier ways to channel it. The twins were developing their own identities, less defined by their mother's ambitions and more by their personal interests. And Heather continued to dance not for scholarships or recognition, though those came regularly, but for the pure love of movement. The decoy dress hung in her closet as a reminder that preparation and foresight often trump confrontation, that sometimes the best response to sabotage is simply to continue doing what you love with excellence and integrity. As I watch her now practicing in our converted garage studio, I see not just my daughter, but a young woman who faced adversity with grace and emerged stronger for it. The lessons from that competition extended far beyond dance technique, teaching all of us about forgiveness, growth, and the true meaning of success. Family relationships are complex, often messy, sometimes painful, but they also offer opportunities for profound connection and transformation. Our story is still being written. Each competition, each family gathering, each small interaction, adding new chapters. But now we write with more awareness, more compassion, and a shared understanding that how we treat each other matters more than any trophy or accolade. So, let me ask you, have you ever experienced a situation where someone tried to stand in the way of your dreams? How did you handle it? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey through our family drama, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more tales of triumph over adversity. Your support means the world to me and helps me continue sharing these personal stories. Thank you for joining me today. And remember that sometimes the greatest victories happen not on stage, but in the quiet moments when we choose integrity over retaliation.